Welcome to Season 3 of Hines On Air, a new space for voices with something to say where conversations are recorded and remembered, hosted by Matt Hines.
Coming at you from Atlanta, Georgia, welcome to Hines On Air. Hello, everybody. It is Matt Hines. We are back at you with another Hines On Air, and we have a very interesting show for you because one of the areas that I have the most questions about is the field of like mental health, medical treatments, medical solutions, and all that. I honestly just don't feel there's a lot of good answers in this area. So it's tough to find people that you trust, that have solutions, that aren't going to get you hooked on pain meds, that are not going to send you to the emergency room all the time. There are a lot of good solutions that don't have all these crazy side effects, that are just simple and they make sense. And we got an expert on board with us today. This is Miss Stephanie Valentine. She has all kinds of knowledge from many different areas. Clinical hypnotist, mental health, certified mindfulness. So she's got a lot. As she said earlier, I think
nutritionist. You skipped that one.
I did skip that one. I'm sorry. A certified nutritionist. So whether it's nutrition, diet, mental health, whatever it is, she can find what's wrong and help you improve. So Stephanie, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. No, it's an honor to have you here. So I guess let's just start. Let's say I'm somebody, you know, I'm doing okay, but I don't feel like I'm at 100%. Like, how would you start to diagnose or look at my situation?
First thing I would do is I would do sort of an hour and a half intake where I ask you a million questions and I find out specifically what ails you, why you've come to me. So if you've come to me, you know, some people say, what supplement should I take? The first question is, how do you feel? So I go through what your energy is like, what your sleep is like, what your relationships are like, how you feel about your exercise, how your mental health is, if you're happy, if you're sad, if you're overwhelmed, if you're looking for answers. Then we'll sort of determine which one of those sort of departments would work best for you. And then that's sort of what we would plan out. You know, it might be a nutrition plan that we would go over for a little bit. It could be the hypnosis, which then would include food or sleep or tracking or doing meditations in between, that kind of thing. And then I meet up with you again a week later, see how it is, see how you're doing. If you're a hypnosis client, not my best business model because most of those clients are fixed in like 2 sessions, which is great. I love that.
Wow. You hypnotize them.
Mm-hmm. It's the coolest thing. It's like, if you don't, it's, when I first went to hypnosis school, my dad said to me, "What are you doing?" I said, "I've signed up for hypnosis school." He's like, "What are you doing? Joining the circus?" I'm like, no. So it is the same brain waves in an MRI machine as meditation. So it's not anything crazy or scary, or I don't have any control over the people who I'm hypnotizing. You're completely in control at all times. And I've helped people with panic attacks, insomnia, eating issues, you know, smoking, vaping, fears and phobias. And it's so pain. It's so incredibly effective. It's, you know, the most fun thing that I do.
But when they go into hypnosis, they go unconscious, right?
No. So, you know, this is how it feels. When you're at a movie, you're watching the movie. You're involved in the movie. You can get scared, you can cry, you can laugh, but you're still sort of aware of the people around you, but you sort of have them tuned out. That's pretty much the state that you're in when you're in my type of hypnosis. There are different levels that go all the way down to you can be in a trance such that you could have surgery and not feel it. I'm not doing that. I'm doing more level 2 where you're sort of at that half awake, half asleep stage that you still will remember in most cases what was said.
I know a little bit about hypnotism, and I would think, and I'm not an expert like you, but if somebody knew what was said, the suggestion that was made while they were in that trance, that it wouldn't have the effect on them, right?
Wrong.
Wrong.
No.
Okay.
Wrong.
Okay.
So the way it really works is 90% of what you do every day is with your subconscious mind. When you're walking, you don't have to think about how to put each foot in front of the other. You brush your teeth the same way every day. You put your pants on the same way every day. That's your subconscious mind just taking over and doing those things. Your conscious mind is the color commentator, that's saying, just yakking at you. When you go into hypnosis, you're quieting that yacky voice and talking to the subconscious voice. But the conscious mind isn't completely out. So if I said something to you that didn't ring true or you weren't in line with, your conscious mind would jump in and say no. So you have to be in line with everything that's being said for it to be effective. It's only effective if you 110% want to change whatever it is, because that's the only way your conscious mind isn't going to set up a roadblock.
I got you. Okay. That makes sense. So it's not to that level where if I scratch my tie, your nose is going to itch, or what? Something at that point where you really don't have any control and you have no idea why your nose itches.
No, that's sort of like the stage hypnosis that people do, which is one level down. The way that works is not everybody is that susceptible. So if you've ever gone to one of those shows, you've noticed that the first thing they do is they ask for volunteers. So the people who volunteer right off the bat have been weeded down to people who want to do it. Then they're up on stage, maybe there's 20 of them, and they do little things where he weeds out and is able to find who's the most susceptible, who they can take deeper down. And that's when they sort of can get those people to do things that they then won't remember doing. But it doesn't stick, because your conscious mind, when you're walking down the street, if you hear that, you're not going to start quacking like a duck, because your brain's like, I'm not a duck, I don't need to quack that way.
Really? You think it would automatically turn off even though suggestions made at a pretty
Yes,
deep level?
That's the thing. So even if you come to me and you want to quit smoking, for instance,
yeah,
everything that we do in the sessions will work until you don't anymore want to be quit smoking. You're always making that decision for whatever it is to stick. So that's why the first question that I ask people is, how badly do you want to fix this?
So self-determinism still could override that subconscious suggestion or whatever.
100%. Yes.
Ah, that's interesting. Yes. I would have thought that, but there's so many things. I guess you could take, let's say, a person who walks up and they're going to start speaking to an audience and they suddenly are overwhelmed with fright. That sort of reactive, unconscious thing that shifts in on them. They don't have control over that. They may gain control and they can practice and rehearse and all that kind of stuff, but still the feeling or the fear or whatever comes in on them. And I sort of see a deeper level hypnosis is kind of the same thing. That is a stimulus response thing that happens in the environment that causes a reaction, and they can't control it to some degree.
But that person would then come to me and say, I've got this terrible stage fright. I had a young girl come to me, 11 years old, and she was a runner, long distance runner. And she started getting these overwhelming panics before she would run. She would get to the start line, throw up, and then run her race. So her mom reached out to me and she's like, my daughter loves running. She really wants to do it. She wins all these races, but she throws up before every race. Can you help her? So that is a fear and phobia type of exercise that I do with them. And I take them back to, okay, tell me how the race starts. Mom tells me I have a race. That's level 1. I go to bed at night, lay out all my clothes. Number 2. I get up in the morning and get dressed. Number 3. I have my breakfast. 4. So you go through 10 things in order that get you to the point where she throws up. And I discuss it with the client back and forth. I repeat it to them to make sure that I'm saying everything that they want to say, what their truth is. And then I take them into their trance. And, oh, sorry, I missed the first part where then they also give me their happy place. And they describe their happy place, what it looks like, what it smells like, what it feels like, what it sounds like, what it tastes like. And we write that down. Again, I check with them that they're completely in line, that I didn't miss anything. So then I take them into the trance. We go to step 1. It's the night before your mom tells you have a race tomorrow. We go to the next one. And I have them give me a sign if it gets to a point where they're starting to get overwhelmed or scared. So they'll lift their finger or nod their head or lift their hand. If they do that, or when they do that, I then take them back to their happy place. I read that once or twice, and then I go back to the step that took them there. And then we go through that until we get to the number 10, the scariest part of whatever is that they're scared of. And they get to the point where that last step, they feel the safety of their happy place when they're in that last step. So then next time they go for a race, they have the calm from their happy place throughout the whole thing. And this girl, we did it once. No more throwing up.
Wow. That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Is the happy place an actual place, or that's an imaginary thing, or whatever?
Whatever works for you.
Whatever's happy. Okay.
Whatever works for you. So, if you're a beach person, you might come up with a beach scene. If you're a mountain person, mountain scene. But the only thing, it needs to be by yourself. So you're not relying upon somebody else's comfort for whatever it is that you're trying to deal with.
Good. Have you stopped smoking? Not you, but have you helped? That was a bad way I put that question.
Yes.
I meant, have you able to stop someone else's habit of smoking?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other thing that we do for a habit is we'll substitute it for something else. Usually when somebody has a habit, frequently they're getting some gain from it. What is it? Why do they smoke? They smoke because they're stressed. So we come up with something else to do when they're stressed. They smoke because they just like to do it with their hands. Okay. We come up with something else for them to do with their hands. They smoke because at the end of a meal, they're used to just having that cigarette. We can substitute that with having a glass of water or whatever they want to substitute it with. So the triggers, the things that drive them to smoke or that used to drive them to smoke, they have other things to manage those impulses so that with the hypnosis, they're able to quit.
So you do, in a hypnotic state, that's where you switch the activity while they're under hypnosis.
Yes, we can do it that way. We can do it that way and come up with a different thing to do. So I had somebody who, one of the things he liked about smoking was sort of the oral fixation thing, and he didn't want to chew gum. So he went out, somebody gave him like an empty vape thing that has nothing in it, that's literally just air. So he said that he was going to take that to work with him just so he doesn't feel the need to grab something else to put in his mouth.
Cool. And he stopped.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yep.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's fun.
I've heard a little bit, and essentially what you said too, that some people can't get into that deepest state of hypnosis. I've heard that not all people you can hypnotize.
Not all people.
What
some people just don't believe that it's going to work. So if they don't believe it, then it's not going to work because their yucky mind's going to be like,
whatever,
this is bogus. It's not going to work. So then their subconscious mind doesn't even get to it because like I've been told by my conscious mind that this is bogus, so it won't even get there.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. So when you're looking at helping someone with supplements, vitamins, and all that, do you use blood tests at all for that step?
I personally don't, but if somebody's having real sort of medical issues, I will make them go to their doctor or go to a clinic first to have whatever blood tests to make sure that they don't have an illness. If somebody comes to me, hypnosis for pain, same thing. They have to go to a doctor first because sometimes pain is telling you something and we don't want to hypnotize away the pain when it's telling you that your appendix is about to rupture. So I will make sure that they get all of those tests done by Western medicine. I work very much with both. I'm not an instead of person. So usually they will then have, oh, my doctor said I'm deficient in vitamin D, or, I have Hashimoto's disease or whatever it may be. And then we can create protocols around that. But I have the doctor do those diagnoses.
The MD doctor does that?
Yeah.
Okay. That's good. Most
in
doctors,
Canada, they do.
Yeah, that's good. Y'all might be ahead of us because in America, doctors do not normally go toward the supplements and vitamins. I think there's...
Well, they can do, there are a bunch of different blood panel tests that you can get done that I believe you can go to a clinic and have them send your blood away. And then they'll do, a full panel on all of, how your hormones are and all of your different vitamin levels.
Yeah, I did that. I did it with the 10X program. I don't know if you've heard of that one, but I thought the results were great. It just, the level of information, and stuff that they give you. I mean, I'll give you, as far as the MDs are concerned, I have someone in my family is having gastrointestinal problems. They just have trouble. They just have trouble with that area. Lots of trouble. They're in the emergency room all the time. They've been going to a doctor for years now, and they'll go to the emergency room, and just a horrible experience. And I didn't know about this, and I talked to one of them. I was like, what's her diet like? Seems like an obvious first question if somebody's having trouble with their stomach, Never been asked. In years, the hospital, the doctors, the MDs never asked her, what's your diet? Like, duh. And have you done a blood test? They did, but it was like looking for one or two specific, not just the panorama of the vitamin Ds and that. Hadn't done that, like the simple stuff. So that's where I really like your professions and stuff, is because I think we started the more simplistic analysis, which is usually, to me, the problem.
Well, if that family member came to me, they would have already been to their family doctor. So the big C, sort of some of the big things will already have been ruled out. If I would obviously ask them not just what their diet is like, but try and narrow down what their triggers might be. We can do so, and this is where my different ways to go about it are helpful, because one of these sort of like more on the hypnosis side of things, I can do muscle testing to determine if they have intolerances. So, for instance, you'll put your arm out and, you pull it down, it's strong.
Well, you're like holding the supplement.
Hold something.
Right. Yeah.
That takes all the strength away. And you start by demonstrating it with their cell phone, because we all know the cell phone's bad for everybody. And that's how you can really see a difference.
I want to go back to that in a minute. Finish your thought, but I want to hit that.
And then the next thing that we would do is, if there isn't a clear, oh, this is what it must be in the conversations, then you can go and do an elimination diet where you take it down to like really basic. And then you do, like when you're introducing new foods to a baby, you introduce one new thing per week. See how you do on that. If you're not good on it, you take it out, you try something else. So there are different ways to determine what foods are creating abdominal distress. Another big problem that needs to be looked at is the gut-brain connection. So we all know when you get scared or stressed or overwhelmed, you can get a stomach ache. So maybe it's not starting from your stomach. Maybe it's starting from your gut or your emotions, because we've got our central nervous system and our enteric nervous system, and your mood and your immunity is based on your enteric nervous system, which is in your intestines and your gut. So maybe that just needs to be cleaned up. Maybe they need probiotics. Maybe they need to eat 30 different colors of food per week instead of eating, just white. So there are lots of different ways to go about it to narrow down what might be causing them distress. I know this personally because that's how I got into this. I myself have a really bad stomach, and I would get these, sick, throwing up in the middle of the night episodes that were debilitating, went on for years. I went to every doctor under the sun, every specialist under the sun. And I got to a point where I was like, I'm sick of chasing a diagnosis. I need to figure out how to live my best. So that's when I was in nutrition school. That's when I was able to determine what foods I don't do so well on. I'm not great on nightshades. I'm not good with sugar. I'm not good with, fried foods. So I, over the years, have learned how much of those things I can eat before I'm sort of over the edge. And, I feel good most of the time now. I still sometimes have an episode. At least now I know it's not going to be for the rest. It will get better in 2 days. So the panic part isn't with it anymore. But I know what lifestyle I need to live for me to feel my healthiest, my best sleep, my nicest, and that kind of thing.
How long did it take you to get that routine, like to understand all of that?
It took a while because I had a lot going on in my life at the time. I had young kids. I was, wife, mom, running around, dealing with running the household stress. And I also didn't really have anything really for myself at the time. The question, what do you do, was like the worst question for me because I knew how busy I was, but I didn't love my answer. And at that point, my mom was saying to me, Steph, you got to either get a job or go back to school or do something because you need something for yourself. And that's when I was like, okay, I was an aerobics instructor when I was younger. So nutrition sounded interesting to me. So I signed up for holistic nutrition, not having any idea what it was. And through schooling, that's sort of how I was able to narrow down and learn about, how different foods affect your body, what's inflammatory, what's anti-inflammatory, what to balance and all that stuff. So it took a few years for me to sort of sort it out.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. All right. Before we end, I'm curious. You mentioned the cell phones are harmful or have an effect upon the person. There was Elon Musk was on Joe Rogan. They were having this exact conversation. Everybody wonders this. I mean, I know there's wavelengths and different energy emissions coming from a cell phone. Elon's take was they're so minor, you do not have to worry about that. You disagree with that?
Okay. No.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying he's right or you're right. I'm curious. What's your take on this?
It's also sending rockets into space that explode every time. Listen, the guy's a genius. I'm not going to say that I know more than him, but if a piece of cake takes the strength out of my arm, less than holding a cell phone takes the strength out of my arm, I think it's going to have an effect.
What? Okay. So just some people on YouTube are going to see what you're doing. Can you tell somebody you're putting the phone up against your body, right? Mm-hmm. It's touching your chest, and then you hold your arm out, and then somebody sort of pushes down your arm, and that, you see the difference between when the phone's touching you and when it's not. And you're saying when the phone touches you...
I think you just even have to hold it. I'll put it like that, but if you're holding it, that's really, and I'll give you a loaf of bread and do the same thing and see what happens. I'll give you a nightshade tomato, same thing, to see what happens. And your body responds to it. So
what is it
worry
affecting?
Or don't worry.
What is all right, so the emissions from the phone, the wavelengths, the energy, whatever, what is it changing in the person that takes that energy away? Do you know?
I have no idea. I just know that it takes your strength away, so it can't be good. My son's an engineer and his girlfriend is also an engineer. So they explain those kinds of things to me. But, that's a whole other thing.
No, interesting. Okay. Okay, cool. All right. Well, let's see. All right, real quick. Certified mindfulness. Break that down. What does that mean?
It just means that I took a 6-month course and learned different scripts on how to create mindfulness meditations for people to supplement the other stuff that I do.
Okay. Meditation.
And mindfulness is really just paying attention to now. So there are multiple different types of meditation. Mindfulness is the one where you're paying attention to your breath and your mind wanders, because it will, and you notice that your mind wanders and then you bring it back to the breath. And I call that a meditation push-up, because the whole idea is to train yourself to notice when you've lost focus, to bring the focus back. And why do we care? Well, if you're writing a book, or if you're at your desk doing work and the phone rings or somebody comes in and distracts you, you change your focus to them, they leave. You want to be able to get back to focus as quickly as possible. And by practicing the return to focus to now, you're strengthening those pathways in your brain, which makes it easier to do that in everyday life.
Gotcha. Cool. All right. Very good. All right, Stephanie. Well, listen, somebody here in this program, I'm sure, is going to get interested in what you were talking about. So how could they find you and take advantage of your services?
Okay, they can find me. I'm on Instagram, s.v.living.com, and that's where I put up recipes and wellness stuff. I also have a website, Stephanie Valentine, SV Living. I forgot, like, what's my name? svliving.com. And on that website, there are also recipes, blog posts, meditations, a few hypnosis recordings. And you can find me through both of those ways.
Awesome. All right. Well, listen, Stephanie, it's been a pleasure talking to you.
You too.
Yeah, no, it's amazing what you do. It's almost miraculous, some of these things you're changing. I mean, those people struggle with that for a lifetime and never have a solution. And you're really making quick changes.
You know, I really feel that my reason on this planet is to help people find their smiles and feel better. And, you know, for a while, I thought I was just addicted to school just because it was so much fun. And it wasn't until maybe a couple of years ago, I'm like, oh, all of these things actually work really well together. And that's where it got me to now. So almost whatever someone's dealing with, I can help a little bit, at least.
Yeah, cool. All right. All right, y'all. Well, listen, check Stephanie out. svliving.com, right?
Yeah. svliving.com. SV like Stephanie Valentine. And living because we want to live great.
That's right. All right. Very well. All right, Stephanie. Well, thank you. And everybody else, thank you very much. Listen, remember, leave me a comment below, whether you agree, disagree, maybe you want to add to the conversation. Maybe you've done what Stephanie was talking about and you had a positive or even a negative experience. Let us know. Like this video, share it with your friends, and we'll see you on the next Hines On Air.